I want to now bring in Congressman Mark Harris, Republican from North Carolina. Congressman, thank you for being with me on your Friday morning. So is the ball now in Congress's court, and do you have enough votes to follow through with President Trump's order?
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I think Congress is poised to follow through. I feel like we will begin to move and take action on this because President Trump is really just fulfilling a promise that he made from the beginning. Don't know what's going to happen, obviously, in the Senate, but I do think in the House that there are those that are follow through and make these things happen, because I think all of us ran. Listen, this is not a new subject. We've been talking about the Department of Education all the way back to President Ronald Reagan. And now we're actually seeing action. We're in a position where we can do something about it, and where our public schools have really just failed us. The statistics, even the education department's own statistics, tell the story in a big way.
Let me play some sound for you, sir. Delaware's Democratic Governor Matt Meyer, who's a former math teacher, saying this to News Nation after the president signed that order this week.
We're just hoping we stop cutting the ball and, instead of cutting education. Right now in our state and in our country, we are not delivering. You look at educational outcomes in recent decades and certainly in recent years, we're not delivering as a country. Right. That means we need increased investment.
Yeah, he says schools are already underfunded, teachers are already underpaid. What do you tell the more than 80% of students and their families who rely heavily on federal assistance? What's about to happen to them?
Well, listen, I think, first of all, make it very clear that I think the gentleman from Delaware makes our very point that we have failed. And the current system we're operating under, where you have a federal Department of Education that is trying to do education across the country, that's not the answer. The answer is to empower the states. The answer is to empower the local governments. The answer is empower the parents in school choice. So these are things that when you recognize that you've got children, 6 out of 10 in many cases that are below where they need to be in their test scores, nearly 75%, nearly 3/4 are behind in their reading abilities. He is exactly right. We have failed. But the answer is not trying to throw more money just into a bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. And that's exactly what President Trump is setting out in this order. He's trying to cut the bureaucracy out, get the funds where they need to go. And as far as children with disabilities and those things, none of those services are going to be cut out. They're just that kind of funding is going to go to different agencies, and they're going to come through those organizations that perhaps can prove to be more effective, because the Department of Education, I'm sorry, they have failed miserably as a department.
I know that Governor Meyer is vowing a fight over this. Concerns about education helped elect Republicans like Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin back in 2021. Congressman, are you worried at all that Democrats could use this moment and turn this issue around to their advantage and become kind of a winning ticket item for them?
I really don't. I think they'll try to use language like cutting education. We're not cutting education. We know, the parents know the facts. The people of America know the facts. Again, let me just reiterate, President Trump's been talking about this on the campaign trail all last year. None of this should come as a surprise. This was a goal. And the American people voted that we would do government differently in Washington, D.C. They voted for that when they sent President Trump to the White House, when they gave us the majority in the House of Representatives and flipped the Senate to give us a majority there. So I think it's now our responsibility to continue to respond to what the American people are asking for. So, in my own North Carolina, when you've got 55% of the people in a recent poll that said they were totally dissatisfied with what our public schools were producing, then I honestly think the winning side on this argument is doing government differently. And that's exactly what President Trump is setting out to do.